So before we get started here, these are the three possible games. You got Peg Solitaire, you have Six Man Morris, and you have Tico. And we can do a video for rules maybe later. But right now, we're just looking at the three games. So if we look at our three games here, I've got to draw these two, and they all start the same way, even this one. So Peg Solitaire, Six Man Morris, and Tico all start the same way. So I'm going to move that out of the way and work on these. And these two, actually, the layout is almost exactly the same. So for all three of these games, what you have to do is divide the block into equal sections that are all 3/4 of an inch. So in the linked document, you'll see these exact measurements, but I'm going to make a mark every 3/4 of an inch, and then I'm just going to use my square to transfer this mark. And you want to be light if you can. I'm doing a little darker here so you can see it on the video, but we're just going to transfer the mark every 3/4 of an inch. 3/4, 3/4. So every 3/4, we're transferring our marks, and that'll give us a layout. So this is exactly the same as we did for the Peg Solitaire in the main tic-tac-toe video. But in that video, we found a middle point, and then we went in a 1/2 inch and connected them up. For these games, we basically do this step again. So I'm just going to turn my block, and once again, I'm going to measure out every 3/4 of an inch. 2 1/4, 3, and 3 3/4. So make my marks there. And I don't even have to go to the end this time because I'm knowing exactly where it's starting. So just going to go between these like this. That gives me less to erase later. All right. Here. And here. Okay, so I've got my lines all laid out. Now they are going to need to get sanded later. But basically the difference between these games, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is with Tico, I'm drilling a hole at every single intersection. So every intersection is going to get a hole. With Six Man Morris, I'm going to circle where the holes are going to be. So with Six Man Morris, the holes are only going to be at these locations. So that is the difference in layout between the two games. Six Man Morris will be holes here, and then Tico would have holes at all of the spots. So I'm going to head over to the drill press quick. I'm going to drill this out, and then from there, we're just going to work on making the markings on these games. Okay? All right, we are over here at the drill press. I'm doing a game on both sides of this. So I'm going to do Tico on this side, and then I'm going to do Six Man Morris on this side. So I'm just going to time lapse this. Now when I'm done, I'm going to sand it off. I'm not even going to put that in the video, and then I'll go do the layout lines. So here we go. All right, and like I said, I'm going to go sand this up quick, and after I sand it up, I will meet you at the drawing station. All right, so I'm back. I'm going to start with the Six Man Morris. Now, usually when I do this, I would put my water-based finish on and then Sharpie, but I'm trying to save some time here. So without finishing, we're just using the centers we drilled, for the 6-man Morris. I've got a fine tip Sharpie here, and I'm just going in, and as you can see, or maybe you can't, it is bleeding a little. So you do want to be mindful of that. You are going to get bleed if you do not put finish on. But we will soldier ahead. Probably less on when you're going with the grain, but when you're going across the grain, you're definitely going to get bleeding. So I'm just going to go through here, and the 6-man Morris is much easier to ink than Tico, just because of the sheer number of lines, but go through as quickly as I can and get this done. And we're just using those whole centers that we have from the Forstner bit, and we're going through and making all of our marks. So this is how you would do the 6-man Morris. I will probably speed through the Tico in a moment in some sort of a time lapse. I have a spot here that I've got to go sand still, but this is all the 9s you would need to complete your 6-man Morris. And like I said, I would definitely probably do the finish first and then do it. I've got some sanding I still need to do because I tried to rush through. One other thing is the finish is important. The water-based poly, once it's dry, should be okay to Sharpie over. But some other finishes like shellac specifically, you cannot get away with that. If you try to do that on shellac, the alcohol-based ink will make the shellac run. So you do have to check that the ink you're using is going to work. You might need like an India ink pen, whatever. And as you can see here on the Tico, we are bleeding more so than we did on the 6-man Morris. So just going through the perimeter of the Tico here. It's pretty much the same procedure. The only major difference is you got to do, this is actually all for this game kind of optional. You could definitely play this game without the extra grid lines, but they are helpful in the long run. So this is the only part that you got to do that's different. You got to do the diagonals as well as the horizontals and verticals. And then from here on, I'm just going to try to time lapse, see if I can get this done quick. And then you guys be able to make your games and hopefully enjoy them as much as I do. Alright, so there's Tico. As you can see, we definitely had excessive bleeding, especially on the Tico one. This one looks a little bit better. I used a finer marker and we don't have as much bleeding there. But this is the procedure you would use to make your 6-man Morris and your Tico games. Remember, you want to do this after you do the finish, or if you are so bold, you could do this with the wood burner, which I will also allow. Hopefully this was helpful and will help you do your layouts. Good luck.